Well, hello, Nats fans, and welcome to another edition of the DoDCast Postgame Show. I'm Drew Douglas, and I'll be your host for tonight. And I know I'm stating the obvious, but that was not a game to remember. The Nationals lost to the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim 7-0, and were only able to get one hit against former Nationals organization member Alex Meyer. And getting the lines a little bit here, Gio Gonzalez got the start tonight, and he's been phenomenal this year. He just pitched great to open up the second half in Cincinnati. It looked like he's pitching a little bit of a chip on his shoulder after not making the All-Star team, but he really did not pitch well tonight. He went 5 2/3, allowed 5 hits, 4 runs, all of them earned, on 3 walks and 3 strikeouts. And the thing that really stood out to me about Gio tonight was his control, which has been really erratic in the past, and he's improved this year. He just did not have very good control tonight. He was getting behind batters, walking guys. Like I said, he had 3 walks and only 5 2/3 innings. But even when he wasn't walking guys, he was getting behind nearly every count. It was 2-0, 3-0, 3-1. And you can't get behind batters like that at this level, because even a weaker opponent like the Angels, they have quality hitters. And Escobar, former National, he's hitting 286 this year. You got Mike Trout, arguably the best player in the league. Albert Pujols is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. So, while as a team they're a little weaker, they do have some quality hitters, and just anyone in the big leagues is going to be able to make you pay if you get behind 2-0, 3-1, 3-0, and you have to groom a pitch. It's never good. You got to throw strikes and just let your defense work behind you. And Gio wasn't really able to do that tonight, and he really paid for it, getting the loss, his 5th of the year, and the Nationals getting the loss. So get into the Nats offense a little bit tonight. Brian Goodwin got a hit, and that was it, really. He hit a double in the 6th inning. Alex Meyer was able to go 5 2/3 no-hit innings, and he ended up going 7 innings, only allowed the 1 hit, like I said, 1 walk, which was against Anthony Rendon, and 7 strikeouts. And a little bit of a funny note from the night's game, Alex Meyer, like I said, was drafted by the Nationals in 2011, and their other notable picks from that draft were Brian Goodwin and Anthony Rendon. So in the best game of Alex Meyer's career, he only allowed 2 base runners, which were Brian Goodwin with the hit and Anthony Rendon with a walk. So it's a pretty funny stat to kind of look at. The 3 probably know each other fairly well. They were drafted together. I'm sure they came up through the minors together before Alex Meyer was traded to Minnesota for Denard Span. So yeah, it's just a funny little stat to see that the Nets were only able to get 2 base runners tonight, and they were the 2 guys that got drafted along with Meyer. Getting to the Nets bullpen a little bit, Joe Blanton, who looked like he had been pitching a lot better, and throughout the month of July, he lowered his ERA from 8.1 to he came in tonight at 6.75. He did not have his best stuff tonight. He came in for Gio, got a big out to finish out the 6th inning, but then he came back out for the 7th. Wasn't able to get an out and allowed 3 hits and 3 runs, all of them earned, with 1 strikeout. So it wasn't his night. His ERA rose back up to 7.77. So he had begun to finally lower that ERA and resemble the pitcher that the Nationals thought they were getting when they signed him this offseason. But he struggled again tonight, and it'll be interesting to watch him pitch over his next few outings and see if those successful outings he had were those a fluke, and this is really what Blanton has to offer you this late in his career, or was tonight just a bad night? It'll be interesting, because when the Nationals signed him, they thought they were getting a pretty solid setup option. Maybe he could come in and get some saves, or regardless of his role, he's going to be a quality reliever in the back end of the bullpen. And right now he's got a 7.77 ERA. He was improving, but other than that, he started out terrible. So while it is kind of hard to see why last year he was so good, and now this year, just 1 year later, he struggled so much. He is aging. I believe he's 36 years old now. He's thrown a ton of innings throughout his career. So maybe Father Time has finally caught up with him. So that'll be interesting to see how he fares over the next few weeks. Matt Albers came in after him. He threw a scoreless inning, worked around 1 walk and 2 strikeouts. And Enny Romero came in. He also threw a scoreless inning, allowing 1 hit. So Albers and Romero pitched pretty well in the back end of the bullpen tonight. You didn't get to see the new acquisitions, Ryan Madsen and Sean Doolittle, like we saw last night. but they'll be with the team over the next Ryan Madsen this year and next year, and Dula over the next few years. So we'll definitely get a lot of time to look at them, and hopefully they can continue to pitch well like they did last night. Judo Joker says, "Do we get a reward for staying up tonight? I dozed off, so I didn't earn it, but any Nats fan that did is a real hero." Yeah, I wish. I would take a win for the reward, but tonight, I'm surprised to see that you're in here, Judo, after it's so late. It's a little after 1 a.m. here on the East Coast, and a 7-0 game. I wouldn't blame you if you decided to just turn it off, go to bed. So, thank you for sticking with us tonight. I really appreciate it. And then getting back in the game a little bit, Alex Meyer tonight, he pitched phenomenally, and I haven't really seen him too much since he left the organization, but I was very impressed tonight. He had great command of all his pitches. He had a fastball working well, and then his primary secondary pitch was a little curveball slider piece. I'm not exactly sure what it was. It was coming up as a slider. It looked to be a little bit of a mixture of the two, and it was just outstanding. He was painting the black with it, keeping the Nats hitters off balance. He got a lot of ugly swings from guys tonight, and that was really how he shut him down, just control, and he had great use of all his pitches. I thought the Nationals at times were a little too lackadaisical at the plate, and they were taking some quality pitches. I remember Ryan Zimmerman, for example, he came up and he watched a fastball right down the middle, and then after that, that was by far the best pitch he saw. Everything else in that at bat was off speed other than a fastball up, which Alex Meyer tried to use to get him to chase with 2 strikes, and nobody really seemed to be able to make good contact against that off speed tonight. So with a pitcher like Meyer, who has excellent command of his off speed pitches and no one seems to hit it, you got to look for a fastball. And when you get your fastball, you can't watch it because that's really the best pitch you're going to see throughout your at bat. And so I thought the Nats made a big mistake by not being a little more aggressive at the plate. But as good as this offense has been, everyone has a bad night. It's to be expected. They play 162 games a year, so you're not going to have everything working every single night. I'm really fine with that. Don't want to get too down on the game. Judo Joker says, "Was this just a bad outing, or was there anything concerning about tonight?" I believe you're talking about Gio. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was just a bad outing. It happens to everyone. Like I said, he's pitched phenomenally this year, so maybe you keep an eye on it next start, but he just seemed to not really have his control tonight. Judah said he fell asleep and woke up when the Nats Extra came on. So, yeah, you're lucky. That was really painful to watch. I know I was tweeting the game, and at one point towards the end of the game, I was just tweeting what happened and how many outs were. Like, Steven Drew grounds out 1 away. It was not a fun game to watch. So, yeah, you're pretty lucky you got some sleep and some much-needed rest. The Nats tonight, one stat that you really don't like to see is they had as many hits as they had errors. And if you have that, you either didn't get any or got very few hits, or you made a ton of errors. So the one error tonight went to Matt Wieters. Ben Revere, former National, he singled and was stealing second, and while he was stealing, Matt Wieters attempted to throw him out but threw it into center field, allowing Revere to advance to third base. So he was credited with an error, and Wieters has really struggled this year. He's done a phenomenal job behind the plate of calling games, working with the pitchers, especially when he was at a disadvantage after getting a late start to spring training with signing late. But he hasn't done too well throwing out base stealers. I know last night, I believe it was, he threw out 2, so that was a great game. But his framing, I haven't been too impressed with, in his throwing out base stealers hasn't been great. And at the plate, after getting off to a hot start in April when he hit 301, he's really cooled off. He hit 247 throughout May, 202 throughout June, and right now he's off to a 257 start throughout July. So that adds up to 249 throughout the year. So right now he's been improving, but he's still only hitting 257 throughout the month, and he's not providing much defensively. So his contract, the way it's worked is he has this first year guaranteed, and then he has a player option for next season. He's making quite a bit of money next season if he decides to stay with the team, and I'm not sure he'd get more on the free agent market. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him accept that option and stick with the team next year. because I really think that's the best offer he's going to get. And our own Ron Juckett wrote about this a few weeks ago. So yeah, I would be surprised unless something drastically changes with Wieters and he's able to play like he did in April again. I would be surprised if he declined that option and hit the free agent market. Judo said, I was mostly referring to the offense about the bad outing, and I wouldn't be too concerned. FP made a good point about when they were in Cincinnati, they were putting up so many runs, and the offense was just clicking on all cylinders, and they were scoring so many runs and having to use a lot of energy on the bases. So, they're tired. They're out on the West Coast. They're not used to the time zone. They just had the All-Star break. I know Nats had several All-Stars, but the other ones were probably spending time with their families and probably enjoying their time off. Maybe they're a little bit tired from that still. So I wouldn't be too concerned. They have an off day tomorrow to rest up, and then they go to Arizona, which is a very hitter-friendly park. So hopefully we'll see that great offense back on Friday. A little bit of a bad part about the off day tomorrow is you always like to have a good game before an off day or a travel day. Dusty always talks about happy flights. So, this shouldn't be a happy flight to Arizona after losing 7-0 today, but it happens. Nats had won 6 straight coming into tonight. So I wouldn't be too concerned about it. This has been one of the best offenses in the league, even with all their injuries. So, everyone's going to have a bad night. It just happened to be everyone on the team tonight having their collective bad night. Didn't have Harper in the lineup tonight. So I wouldn't worry too much about it as long as they start hitting again once they go into Arizona. And they got a big schedule coming up. They go to Arizona after this, and then they come home for the first time in the second half, and they play Milwaukee and Colorado. And if the season ended today, all 3 of those teams would be in the playoffs. So got some big part of the schedule coming up. Luckily, 2 of the series will be at home, so hopefully they can play well. And the Nats, with their big lead, are pretty much, you'd think they're almost guaranteed a playoff spot, barring anything unexpected. But you definitely want to play well against these teams who you will possibly be seeing in the playoffs. Take a look around the division and the Orioles, who are also in this area, what they did tonight. The Phillies, they beat the Marlins 10-3. Nick Pivetta, who the Nationals traded to them for Jonathan Papelbon, got the win. Dan Sterling with the loss. Giancarlo Stanton hit his MLB leading 30th home run of the year, and Christian Yelich hit his 9th home run. The Braves lost to the Cubs 8-2, and this is a huge series for the Braves because they're right behind the Cubs in the wild card race. So, and they're in Atlanta at their home park, is SunTrust Park. So they really need some wins against the Cubs here, but they lost the first 2 games of the series tonight. R.A. Dickey, he got the loss, his 6th of the year. And Ender Inciarte and Tyler Flowers both homered for Atlanta. The Orioles, they won 10-2. They've really been struggling lately. Kevin Gossman got a win, and Adam Jones hit his 16th homer of the year. So their offense is their offense is what's going to win them games like they did tonight. They won 10-2. Kevin Gossman gave them a good start tonight, but their starting rotation isn't great. Their bullpen's pretty good if everyone's on. They got Zach Britton as the closer, but he may be moved here soon. So the Orioles sometimes will need to score those 10 runs in order to win. And the Mets beat the Cardinals 7-3. Jacob deGrom got the win, his 11th of the year, and Addison Reed got a save. I watched the beginning of this game. It was on ESPN. The Mets got off to a 7-0 lead in the first 2 innings, and then it was really looking like it was going to be a one-sided game, and it ended up being a save situation for Addison Reed. So you never like to see that for your bullpen. The Nats were dealing with a bit of those struggles earlier this year, hopefully with the acquisitions of Doolittle and Madsen and everyone else pitching better for the most part. You don't see any more of those games, but you definitely understand Mets fans' pain where you're up 7-0 and suddenly it's a save situation. Take a look around the minor leagues. Tonight, Syracuse lost to Louisville 9-5. Harrisburg, AA Harrisburg Senators lost to Altoona 3-2. The Class A short season, Auburn Double Days won 5-4 against West Virginia, so there was a win in the organization. That's always good to know. Gulf Coast League Nationals lost 4-2, and the Dominican Summer League Nationals lost 7-1. So there was a win in the organization thanks to the Class A short season Auburn Double Days, so it wasn't a complete loss for the Nationals organization tonight. A few of the Nationals trade targets or reported trade targets also pitched tonight. Guys like John Morosi and John Heyman have been reporting recently that even after acquiring Doolittle and Madsen, the Nationals are still looking to acquire one more reliever and possibly a starter, with Joe Ross being out, although that was before Edwin Jackson pitched so well yesterday. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But especially with Blanton struggling tonight, maybe the Nationals go out and get another reliever. And a couple of the guys that they've been reported to be interested in pitch tonight, including Justin Wilson with the Detroit Tigers. He came in. He only threw 2/3 of an inning, allowed 1 hit and 2 runs on 1 walk. So he was credited with his second blown save of the year in a loss. He's now 3-4. We had Tony Watson with the Pittsburgh Pirates. He threw 1 inning and struck out 2, and was credited with the win because he was the pitcher record before Max Moroff hit a walk-off single. After the Pirates came back, they were down 2-1 in the 9th, and Corey Knebel was in, the Milwaukee closer. He's had a great year, and the Pirates were able to rally and score a run to tie it up in the 9th and then win it in the 10th. So that was a big win for them. Like I said, Tony Watson got the win. Maybe we'll see him in the Nationals uniform in the next couple weeks. And Raisel Iglesias, who the Nationals saw a couple times in the Cincinnati series, tonight he threw an inning and 2/3, didn't allow a hit, walked 1, but struck out 3. So that was a solid outing for him. He's a promising young reliever who's got a great contract. He's signed for the next couple years, and he's relatively cheap. So hopefully, maybe we'll see him in a Nationals uniform over the next coming weeks, and he's really a great arm. And hopefully, if the Nats get him, they don't have to give up too much, but he should take a pretty hefty prospect package to get him. Our Red Sox fan said hello. So, hi, Al Red Sox fan. Thank you for staying up with us tonight. It's good to have you in the chat and watching tonight. I think that about covers it for tonight's game. There's not a whole lot to talk about with just the 1 hit, Brian Goodwin double. He's played outstanding at the top of the lineup. I'll take a look at what we had go up on the site today. Ron Juckett had a piece about Ryan Zimmerman's ride to history. He recently took the franchise lead for home runs, passing Vladimir Guerrero with his 235th home run in Cincinnati. So that was very fun to watch. He's been with the team since they came to D.C. back in 2005. He's their first draft pick. It's good to see that he's still with the team with so many players switching teams seemingly every single season. So it's been great to see him stick with the Nationals and continue to have success. Ricky had Syracuse Chiefs midseason review, and I had a piece about Bryce Harper being named to Sports Illustrated's Fashionable 50. Sports Illustrated has put out the year 2 years. This is the 2nd year, and Bryce Harper was listed last year. This year he came at 17th. So I talk a little bit about what makes him so fashionable and how he is well established in the baseball world, and now he's even getting into the fashion world with his own shoe line. And he's an exciting young player and personality. So it's a lot of fun to watch him on a daily basis and have him playing for the Nationals. I'll check the chat one last time. There's nothing there. So we'd appreciate if you gave this video a like and subscribe on YouTube. If you liked us on Facebook, and you followed us on Twitter at District on Deck. And if you want to follow me, you can follow me at DrewRD98. So it's almost 1:30 a.m. now here on the East Coast. So thank you for staying up with us. There's no game tomorrow, so I wish Steven Strasburg a happy birthday because it is his birthday here on the East Coast. But the Nationals will not be playing. He gets an off day out on the West Coast where he is from for his birthday. So thank you for sticking up with us tonight. Sorry that the Nationals couldn't play a little better for you. And we'll see you on Friday. Have a great night, everybody.